So I've got two goals for today. One is to bondo up the few spots I need to on the board, and then the other is to build the frame for the other side of the concrete mold. And I guess the third goal, which is kind of part of that, is going to be to put down a layer of padding that's going to represent the board, so that when I pour the concrete, that's there to make up the difference. So let's get started. I love that Bondo smell. That should be good for now. Ooh, yeah, it hasn't been opened yet. So we don't need much hardener. Man, this knife is not in good shape. It's stabbing me. Okay, so the main spots I'm concerned about are these cracks here. So I'm just wanting to get kind of deformations out of the way. Like these things there. Crack here. Move this more to the center. And then anything past here, just I do want to use as many holes as I can, because the concrete is directly on here. So if you were wondering what this is, I would have mentioned it in earlier videos when I was first setting up for the press. But this is the keyway. So this is just to help with alignment. So the board ends about here, and this whole area right here is going to be basically concrete on concrete. Nice, smooth cone shape. Just like that. Perfect. What I might actually end up doing is I might put down something here and something on the top of here, so that there's room for the press, so it doesn't just bottom out on the keyway, because that's what I don't want. Yeah, because if I just cast this, it'll match this shape exactly. And so when I put the two halves together with the wood in between, as soon as the wood is compressed, this side will already be touching. So yeah, I think I need to make some way for it to have a little more space. Oops. Some more cracks. I do want this surface to be as smooth as I can get it, even if it's not, even if the other side of the concrete isn't taking its shape directly from this surface, because the boards will be directly on the surface when I press them, and there's a chance they'll get glue on the press. And so if I've got these rough surfaces, that's just places where there's going to get glue stuck in them, and that's going to be a mess. So if I can take care of that and get more surfaces where the glue's just not going to stick to as easily. So while the Bondo is doing its thing, I'm going to work on building the frame for the other pour. So on this side, so when I built the other side, this side of the press, I designed it so there would be 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. So there's 1 inch minimum everywhere. So I'm going to do the same thing So I'm going to measure up an inch from the high spot. And the high spot is right here, and that is 8 1/4 inches. So I want the walls to be 9 1/4 inches tall. So I've got to find material in the scrap bin that I can then cut, and then I'll be screwing it on instead of gluing it on. So the piece is all cut. Let's double check the fit here. It's there. I had the stop I had set for these 2x4s still in the same spot. No one moved it, which is great. So it means that these are exact same length as the 2x4s. And then should be wide enough. So the Bondo still has it's pretty hard, but it's still gummy enough where if I try to scrape it off, it might pull some stuff up that I don't want. So I think it'll be a little neater if I just give it a few more minutes. So I'm gonna look for something to use as the sit-in for the board. So let's see. All right, so I'm up here in the storage area where I keep all my extra wood so it doesn't get thrown away. And I'm just measuring the thickness of a board, or the board material. So I've got 4 sheets of 1/8 inch Baltic birch and 2 sheets of Formica. So let's see here. That is going to be almost exactly 5/8. So now I've got to find something that's really close to 5/8 of an inch thick. And what I'm hoping I can find is we've got a bunch of this carpet padding, and these big long ones are for stuff. It's just being stored up here, but we have scraps. I'm hoping there's some 5/8 inch thick carpet padding. So this one here is 3/8 inch thick. That's not looking too good. Let's see. So this pad here is pulled out. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 1/16 of an inch under. I think it'll work. So take this down. We'll use this, and this will be the sit-in for the board. So the other side of the concrete press has space made for the board, so that so there's offset. So there we go. So the boards are 10 inches wide and 40 inches long. And I want to give it just a little bit longer, just a little bit more length so that it has wiggle room. So I'm thinking 40.5 inches and 10 inches wide. So let's do that. Mark this 10 inches. And then 40.5 inches. Right there. Perfect. Good. So It's the outside of this line and the inside of this one. Knife. Perfect. Once more. Plastic underneath. Perfect. That should be good enough. Okay, so the Bondo is pretty well cured. And you can just use a knife to scrape it off. It's a little harder than I was expecting, actually. Here. That took way longer than I thought it was going to, and way longer than I wanted it to. I had to spend a lot of extra time just to make sure it's perfect, because this is the side, or this is pressing the side of the deck that your feet come in contact with. So every tiny little minor detail will be translated into the deck. Everything I can feel is something that you'll be able to feel once it's pressed up. So I'm just taking my time and really feeling it out. I also, while I was going at it, I was double checking to make sure that these places where the trucks were mounting was actually level. They weren't skewed at all. They're really good. I had to make a little bit of adjustments on this one, but it was just Bondo in the way. So overall, I'd probably find a better way to seal up the pots and holes in the concrete besides Bondo in the future. Okay, so now that this is done, let's check out how the carpet pad looks on here. So this is just going to be glued down, probably with just temporary contact adhesive. So it's just going to be tacked down, and it's going to be taking the shape of this mold, but it's going to have reduced contours on this opposite side, and that's necessary to prevent pockets. Because if you just match up side A and side B and they're exactly the same, by the time you press something in between them, the shapes don't match up anymore, and then you end up with flaws and pockets and delam. So that's the role that this plays. Instead of take up the space. I also have to deal with this problem here. So I didn't think about the fact that once I put this pad down, these are not going to be tall enough anymore. You see, if that's the wall of my concrete, this is definitely too thin here. So when I screw these on, I'm going to have to put them on little spacers, which won't really be a problem. The next step, I think, is to get these screwed on. So I'm going to do that. All right, so that's what it looks like. Walls are on. I've got duct tape on the corners to hold the cement in so it doesn't leak out. The carpet pad needs to be glued down, and that'll be great. I'll also have to glue something down wherever there isn't carpet pad to prevent it from bottoming out anywhere. And that's just the flat surfaces, so the edge of this cone won't have anything on it, just the top and around the cone. And I could just do the whole thing in carpet pad, but I want to have two different heights so that there's a lip where the board is supposed to end, so that whenever I'm putting the board in, I'm always butting it up against a lip, so it'll make alignment a lot easier for the actual board itself. I've also got rebar this time. It's bent so it kind of fits the shape of the press a little bit better. So that's going to be going in here. And I've also got a scrap piece of metal. It's a shelving bracket. It's actually really strong and stiff. And that's about it. It's pretty much ready to pour, more or less. So I'll do all the other little things off camera, and then I'll get to pouring, and I'll film that, because we'll see how much I learned from last time.